Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all participants joining us from different parts of the world today. On behalf of the UN Women Multi-Country Office of the Caribbean and COLEAD, I would like to warmly welcome you to the session 4 of our Self-Self webinar series, in which we seek to further empower and facilitate the growth of you, the women entrepreneurs. In this session today, we shall delve deeper into leveraging technology and digital transformation. We give a special welcome to our colleagues from COLEAD and UN Women who have joined and have been integral in putting together this session, our distinguished panelists who are at the heart of today's conversation, and of course to you, the entrepreneurs who we hope will engage fully throughout the morning. My name is Gail Gollop, and I'm the Program Specialist, Private Sector and Innovative Finance at the UN Women Multi-Country Office for the Caribbean. I am based in Barbados, but cover 22 countries and territories in the Caribbean region. And as I said, I'm joined by my colleague from UN Women Multi-Country Office Caribbean, as well as COLEAD. This session today is being broadcast in English, French, and Spanish across the different channels. And I'd like to take a moment to also thank our translators and our IT team and our communication colleague for making this possible. I shall now turn over to my colleague, Joara Wells, who will carry you through the engagement and the ICT aspect for today's session. He will let you know about the interpretation, questions, the chat, etc. Joara, over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Just to note, in your Zoom window at the very bottom, you should see a globe. You'll see at the very bottom the bar here. You can click on that globe to change the language to your language of choice. It's English, French, and Spanish. If you don't see it, you may have to click on more, but because I know the window is very small, you should be able to see it there. The Q&A is here. You can submit questions to that module. You could just put them in there, and then they may be answered during the course of the meeting. They might be answered live in the Q&A itself or in person. And lastly, the information exchange, you can enter various things, bits of information in the chat as needed. Okay, and then I'll hand over back to Gail.
Okay, thank you, Joara. And I hope if you have any questions throughout, just put it in the chat, and Joara will help you just sort out those issues you may have. But I think we have been practicing, so I think and I hope it will be a smooth session today. Okay, so now we will delve deeper into our session. Next slide, Gerard, please, so we can start the series. As you would have seen in the invitation, and I've mentioned, this collaboration between UN Women and COLEAD started earlier this year, and we are now in the 4th session, and I welcome you who have come to previous sessions, and I hope that you would continue to join us as we have 2 more for the year, and let us know, give us your feedback on how today's session and the other sessions have been. We are targeting entrepreneurs in the African and Caribbean countries and beyond, and we're focusing on businesses mainly in the agricultural and agro-processing areas. This series is tailored for business leaders, women entrepreneurs, aiming to foster collaboration among entrepreneurs, share knowledge, showcase successful experiences of the women entrepreneurs, enhance business skills, market access, networking opportunities. So as you can see, this is a collaboration, and we would like, and it's for you, the women entrepreneurs, by the women entrepreneurs, so that you will be able to share your experiences. You will have other women entrepreneurs giving you their experiences. Today we have an agency who supports the women entrepreneurs, and so it's not just us talking to you. It's a discussion and a facilitation of you talking to each other and learning and growing from each other. So let me turn now to the agenda today. Joara, can you change, please? Okay. So as I said, we're speaking about leveraging technology and digital transformation. I shall be your moderator today, but I will also have assistance from my colleagues at COLEAD and UN Women. Today, we will start with some welcome remarks from Germany Knotz, General Delegate from COLEAD. And then we'll jump straight into why you're here today. The panel on the experiences from women entrepreneurs in leveraging technology and digital transformation. So we have a very exciting, diverse panel, and I will tell you more about the participants in our panel as we go along. Once we finish the panel, we will go on to a question and answer segment, discussion with the panelists when you will be able to ask your questions. And then we will conclude, just wrapping up our session nicely and letting you know what next steps will be. Next slide, Joanne. Okay, so I just want to lay a little foundation before I turn over to Jeremy. Why are technology and digitalization important for the economic empowerment of women entrepreneurs? So we have found we've done a number of studies, both within UN Women and COLEAD, and there are a number of barriers for women entrepreneurs in the digital economy as it relates to this digital transformation, which is happening daily. Every day there's something new, there's something that we have to engage in. We've found that there's this connectivity gap. Many women own the smartphone, but they lack regular internet access. And also without the smartphone, those who don't, and well, if you don't have your internet access, you may as well not have it. But women are 5.5 times less likely to use social media for businesses and 3.7 times less likely to have a digital bank account, which today's world are key elements of how you grow your business, how you get your products out there, and how you interact with your customers. There's then the issue of the online safety. 57% of women entrepreneurs face online harassment. So you as a woman entrepreneur, you're putting yourself out there. However, unfortunately, in some cases, you receive verbal abuse, unsolicited content and comments from those on the internet. We know how the internet is a very diverse space and can be very unsafe. And due to this harassment, we've found that this limits the visibility and growth of the women entrepreneurs as you then reduce your internet use. You avoid posting photos and you avoid the videos because you do not want to, and you don't know how to deal with this harassment that you're getting. And then we have the low use of e-commerce and digital tools. Few entrepreneurs in the South use e-commerce platforms, and we all know, the Amazon, the Alibaba, Jumia, and that is the key right now. I mean, we sometimes have our regional platforms or your own platform, but we know that these e-commerce platforms are the ones where you will really grow your customer base. And now, of course, we have the use of AI tools. However, are we prepared? I, for one, no, I'm not. However, I think, and that changes, it's so dynamic and it changes every day. But we need to be prepared. This is the way it's going, the world is going, and we need to be prepared. So these are some of the barriers. Next slide, Drora. Yeah, so these are some of the barriers that I have faced. So as I said, we've had this is the fourth iteration of this series, and we have had participants from all over the world, we're happy to say. When we started this series, we wanted participants. It was basically focused on the African continent, as well as the Caribbean region. And that was because COLEAD worked extensively on the African continent, and the UN Women Multi-Country Office Caribbean worked in the Caribbean. We are far, there's a wide Atlantic Ocean between us. However, there are many similarities, and we seek to foster, that closeness and that growth. So again, participants. So as you can see, though, we have also expanded our reach in these sessions. We have the greatest participation from Africa, and then Caribbean, a little less. We are indeed a much smaller region than Africa, but we also have had participants from South America, Europe, and other regions. I believe that includes this Pacific region as well. So it's a wide range, and we hope that, and this bringing you together, we hope then that you can build that bridge between the regions, and also then foster connection, foster that connectivity, and learn from each other. Next slide, Jar. Okay, so I've gone through, laid the groundwork for what we will be doing today. So before we move on, though, as I said, I will introduce my colleague, Jeremy Knopf, the General Delegate of COLEAD. Jeremy has quite some experience in this area, agro-processing, agribusiness, etc. He holds a master's degree in business engineering from the Solvay Brussels School of Economics and Management. And before joining COLEAD in 2009, he worked in Guatemala with a farmers cooperative exporting to the EU and the US. Therefore, he marries that experience in the field with the entrepreneurs with now at COLEAD. He later became an expert in private standards and certification from the ACP fruit and vegetable exporters and was appointed General Delegate of COLEAD in 2019. So over to you, Jeremy, for you to give us some words before we go into the panel. Over to you, Jeremy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gail. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone from wherever you are. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this fourth session of the South-South series, organized in partnership between UN Women and COLEAD. I would like to really thank, of course, UN Women for this fruitful partnership. I'd like to thank the panelists for their time, for sharing their stories with us. And of course, I'd like to thank all the colleagues at UN Women and COLEAD for making this possible, as well as all the participants to this session. I'm really delighted to see already so many of you joining us from all over the world. As Gail explained, I can already recognize some names from Africa, the Caribbean, Pacific, and beyond. And I think the spirit, of course, of these sessions is really the sense of community, to be able to share experiences, learn, and ultimately collaborate. And today our focus is on leveraging technology and digital transformation. We hear a lot about this. It's, of course, a topic of critical importance, not only in the agricultural, agri-food sector, but of course, beyond. Every day we hear news about this. Digitalization is really reshaping the way we operate, we do business from wherever we are in the world, and of course, it creates a range of opportunities for innovation, efficiency, and growth. Now, nonetheless, as Gail explained, and we did this during the preparatory work for this session. Of course, there are a number of barriers, from the limited connectivity to financial exclusion to digital skill gaps and online safety issues, and these barriers do affect women in a disproportionately way, limiting, of course, their ability to further embrace the opportunities of this digital economy. At COLEAD, we manage different programs, and the one that's really supporting also this partnership and the organization of these sessions is the Fit for Market Plus program, funded by the EU and the OACPS. And within this program, as a transversal kind of commitment and objective, we are active in contributing to more inclusive digital ecosystems in the agri-food sector at all levels, at the macro, meso, micro level. And so our ultimate goal, of course, is to ensure that women-led businesses have the knowledge, the tools, the competencies, and the networks they need to thrive in this area of rapid digital transformation. Now, of course, today's session is not going to be about only reviewing the challenges, but most importantly, it's going to be about sharing some solutions and success stories. And I'm really delighted that we'll hear some inspiring experiences and stories from women entrepreneurs across Côte d'Ivoire, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Grenada, and who really have been able to harness technology to innovate, expand the reach, and strengthen their resilience. And all these stories in today's session, but also in previous stories, are powerful reminders that when women are equipped with the right resources, the right support, they can really be at the forefront of leading a more sustainable and inclusive future, and especially in the agri-food sector. So I encourage all of you to actively participate in today's discussions, ask questions, share your perspectives, stay in contact after the session. This is really the ultimate objective of creating this community all together. So thank you for being here. Looking forward to a fruitful and insightful session. Thank you. Back to you, Gail. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy. And as Jeremy said, we can't say it enough. Engage, ask your questions. This is the opportunity. And not only, as he also said, at the end of this, we don't want to not hear from you again. Keep in contact. You will have all of our contact. So keep in contact. Let's keep this momentum, and let's see how far we can go with that. That's why we're trying to bring you together here. We're facilitating it, and we will continue to facilitate even after we close today. So thank you, Jeremy, and thank you again. Okay, so now we move to our panel. So I'll just give you some instructions on, and I'm so happy before we move, I'm so happy to see everyone put in their name and where they're from in the chat. It's always good to see the where everyone is from and how far away you're from, and I'm very glad to see that, and I like that activity so far. So now before I start the panel, I will just give you a understanding of how we're going to do this today. We have 5 panelists, and each panelist has a presentation, and they will give their presentation. So I will introduce, and they will give their presentation. And once those panelists finish their presentation, I will have a brief exchange. Once all 5 panelists, I should say, have finished, I shall have a brief exchange, and then we will turn it over to you, where my colleague Alonso will lead the question and answer session. However, that does not mean you have to wait until the end to start putting your questions in the chat. If you're anything like me, you will not remember your question 45 minutes from now. So I encourage you, we will be taking note, put the questions in the chat or the question and answer session, I should say. As you go along, put your questions in the question and answer section, and then we will be sure to get to you at the end. However, that does not preclude you from raising your hand during the question and answer segment and asking your question. We actually promote that, but as I said, I know you might not remember 30 minutes from now what you wanted to ask. So that's how we will do it. But once we hear from our expert panelists, then we turn it over to you. So without any further ado, I will start with my panelists. First, I would like to introduce you to Gladys Yao. She's the founder of Piment Mako from Côte d'Ivoire. And if you do not have on your French translation, for those who do not speak French, be sure you're in the right channel. The channel say in English, and as Gladys will be presented to us today in French. So as I said, Gladys is the founder and manager of Citrav, operating under the brand Piment Mako. Since 2016, she has transformed local staples into national seasoning powders, making her company a recognized innovator in Côte d'Ivoire agri-food sector. And for me, I look forward to hearing what Gladys has to say, given that we have similar businesses in the Caribbean. And I think all those from the Caribbean and those in Africa will find it interesting, Gladys's approach, and learn from her as well. So over to you, Gladys. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, merci monsieur, merci à tous. Bonjour tout le monde, bonsoir tout le monde. Je suis vraiment très contente de pouvoir participer à cette session. Pour la petite histoire, c'est ma toute première fois de participer à un panel aussi rempli de monde. Donc, je suis vraiment très enthousiaste. En tout cas, merci beaucoup, merci à chacun. Donc, je présente rapidement la CITRAV. La CITRAV, c'est la Société ivoirienne de transformation du vivrier. Elle a été créée depuis 2016. À l'époque, on était deux, mon mari et moi. Mais aujourd'hui, nous employons 18 personnes. Ils sont tous déclarés à TNPS. Et nous avons aussi des journaliers. Nous avons une quinzaine de journaliers. Nous recevons aussi des stagiaires qui viennent faire des stages de fin de formation, mais des stages de qualification. Et nous avons beaucoup de produits. Nous avons commencé avec un seul produit, c'était le piment. Mais aujourd'hui, nous avons 6 produits. Et nous avons participé à beaucoup de prix. Nous avons eu en 2016 le prix CISI du meilleur prix agriculture. En 2019, nous avons eu le prix Pierre Castel. En 2020, le prix MTN Startup. Et en 2025, c'est-à-dire cette année, nous avons eu le prix d'excellence de la meilleure initiative en matière de valorisation des productions végétales. C'est pour dire que nous travaillons et l'État même a reconnu que nous travaillons et nous ont couronné grâce à ce prix. Donc, nous disons merci à tout le monde, tous nos consommateurs, tous ceux-là qui nous font confiance, tous ceux-là qui nous envoient des messages d'encouragement. Prochain slide. Donc, je me présente rapidement. Prochain slide. Je suis Gladys Yao, mariée, mère de 4 enfants. Je suis la gérante de la CITRAV. La CITRAV est une SARL qui aide dans la transformation des épices locales, notamment le piment. Voilà, nous avons des produits. Je ne sais pas si vous voyez à l'écran. Okay. Donc, je tiens là le piment. Là, c'est notre premier produit. Ensuite, il y a le poivre, notre deuxième produit. Ensuite, il y a le sous-marin, on appelle le troisième produit. Ensuite, il y a le poivre africain que chez nous, on appelle le féfé, le quatrième produit. Et on a aussi l'oignon en poudre. Et notre cinquième produit, notre dernier produit, c'est le doublé. OK. Prochain slide, s'il vous plaît. Okay. La technologie a apporté beaucoup de choses dans notre activité. Il faut dire que nous achetons les produits déjà secs et nous conditionnons et puis nous vendons sur le marché. Donc, si ces produits ne sont pas bien secs, on a un problème de durée de vie du produit. C'est-à-dire que le produit fini ne dure pas dans le temps et il se gâte vite. Donc, on a beaucoup de plaintes. Donc, pour réduire ce problème-là, on séchait le piment au soleil. Et en saison pluvieuse, nous ne pouvons pas sécher le piment au soleil. Donc, on a réfléchi, on a acheté de grosses marmites là et on prenait le produit broyé comme ça, on mettait dedans et on chauffait pour essayer de réduire un peu le taux d'humidité. Malgré tout ça là, le produit ne pouvait pas durer dans le temps. Mais avec l'arrivée de la technologie, nous avons pu acheter un séchoir. Donc aujourd'hui, nous séchons nos produits. Et ces produits-là peuvent durer dans le temps et nous n'avons plus de plaintes de consommateurs. C'est-à-dire que nous gagnons de l'argent et nous puissions satisfaire la clientèle. Prochain slide. Ensuite, prochain slide, s'il vous plaît. Ensuite, pour déterminer le taux d'humidité, on achetait le piment comme ça, les produits, on prend la main avec le toucher, on essayait de voir si le produit était bien sec. Et quand on essaie de regarder, c'est pas bien sec, on étale le produit au soleil et le produit rentre dans le processus de transformation. Mais malgré tout ça, là, le produit ne pouvait pas durer dans le temps et il y avait des produits qui se gâtaient et il y avait toujours des plaintes de consommateurs. Mais nous avons pu acquérir un humidimètre et ce humidité nous permet de déterminer le taux d'humidité. Parce que le taux d'humidité normal, normalement, c'est 12. Donc, on achète le produit et on teste. Si c'est inférieur à 12, on passe au séchoir et puis ça nous donne un produit bien sec. Et quand c'est comme ça, il peut durer dans le temps. Prochain slide, s'il vous plaît. Pour le conditionnement, à l'époque, on faisait à la main. C'est-à-dire qu'on finit de broyer le produit, on prenait une cuillère et à l'aide d'une ensacheuse manuelle, on conditionnait notre produit. Et avec ce procédé, il nous fallait une journée pour conditionner 1 kilo de produit. Alors qu'aujourd'hui, grâce à des ensacheuses que nous avons pu acquérir, nous pouvons ensacher 5 kilos de produits l'heure. Donc, ça nous fait gagner de l'argent, ça nous fait gagner en temps et nous avons toujours des produits disponibles pour satisfaire les consommateurs. Prochain slide, s'il vous plaît. Maintenant, concernant la numérisation, il y a beaucoup de choses à dire à ce niveau. Mais là aussi, nous avons retenu seulement 3 éléments à cause du temps. Prochain slide, s'il vous plaît. À l'époque, pour faire nos enregistrements, on avait recours à un papier, une feuille de papier. On partait vendre comme ça, on revenait, on écrivait. Le lendemain, on ne sait pas où on a acheté la feuille. Donc, on a réfléchi, on dit, bon, on va acheter un cahier. Et on achète le cahier, on se rend compte que le cahier, les pages finissaient vite. On dit, bon, ok, on va s'acheter un gros registre. Donc, on a acheté le gros registre, on notait à la main. Mais souvent, quand on vient, on se rend compte que le bic qu'on a utilisé la veille, on ne sait pas où on a déposé. Donc, il faut courir à l'acheter. Un bic, c'était vraiment fastidieux et ça perdait le temps. Et puis, bon, ça nous faisait vraiment perdre de l'énergie. Prochain slide, s'il vous plaît. Mais aujourd'hui, avec la numérisation, l'informatique, nous enregistrons nos données à l'informatique. Toutes nos ventes journalières, nous enregistrons cela. Et pour faire les bilans annuels, c'est facile, il suffit de cliquer et on a les ventes annuelles. Ensuite, concernant toujours la numérisation, ne faut pas toucher la main. Il semble que vous avez changé de langue. Vous allez la mettre à jour afin que nous puissions vous fournir une meilleure qualité.
Gladys, is this the slide that you want to be on?
Voilà. OK. C'est l'image suivante. Voilà. Non. Le numéro 2. Le numéro 2. Le numéro 2. Voilà. Voilà. Merci beaucoup. Donc, concernant les déclarations. Avant, pour faire les déclarations, on était obligé d'aller nous-mêmes physiquement aux impôts, bien à la CNPS. Donc, on payait d'abord le transport et il y a une longue file d'attente qui nous attendait là-bas et il fallait passer toute la journée avant d'être servi. Mais maintenant, avec l'impôt, l'ICNPS, c'est facile de notre ordinateur portable, on paye facilement les impôts, on passe facilement la CNPS et on gagnait facilement en temps. Prochain slide, s'il vous plaît. Maintenant, où la numérisation, je peux dire, nous a fait du bien, c'est au niveau des ventes. Avant, on faisait du porte-à-porte. On marchait sur une longue distance, mégaphone à main. Et on partait dans les marchés et on avait notre petit chant qu'on chantait. Piment typique qui n'est pas mélangé là. Et on appelle ça Marco. Piment typique qui n'est pas mélangé là. Et on appelle ça Marco. Donc c'était, je peux dire, un chant qu'on faisait et puis bon, ça attirait au moins les regards des gens vers nous. Et puis ils nous demandaient, mais qu'est-ce que vous tenez en main là? Et on profitait pour présenter nos produits. Et malgré tous ces efforts-là, si on a trop vendu, c'est 5 000 francs la journée. Mais aujourd'hui, avec l'utilisation de nos pages Facebook, l'utilisation des supports, notre site web, tout ça, ça fait que avec une seule publication, on atteint plusieurs personnes et on a même des commandes à l'extérieur et on arrive à faire vraiment du chiffre. Prochaine slide, s'il vous plaît. Ok, bon, voici en gros ce que je peux dire concernant l'apport de la technologie et de la numérisation sur notre activité. Donc, en gros, nous avons vraiment gagné beaucoup de parts de marché grâce à la numérisation et à la technologie. Je vous remercie.
And thank you, Gladys, for sharing. For me, it was particularly interesting to see how, the technology and the digital transformation not only focuses or not only plays a part in your production, but also the administrative part of your business. So thank you for sharing your experience. So I see that we've started to get some questions in the question and the Q&A section. So I encourage others, if you have a question, please post it there and we will answer it once we get to the Q&A portion of the morning. Again, thank you, Gladys. I now turn to Sheba Augustine. She is the founder of Omi Natural Skincare in Grenada. So we've come across the Atlantic Ocean. We've left Cote d'Ivoire, come across the Atlantic Ocean to Grenada. And so you will hear from Sheba. Sheba, we have been working at Young Women with Sheba for a while now. She has, within the framework of the Build Back Equal project, funded by the Global Affairs Canada. And so Sheba founded her business, Omi, in 2018. It is a natural skincare brand using local cocoa butter and coconut oil. Her brand has expanded into a full line of products focused on sustainability and natural ingredients. So over to you, Sheba, and thank you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Well, it's the morning in Grenada. Thank you for that introduction. And I'm really looking forward to sharing more. And I really enjoyed the presentation before mine. I learned so much about the things that I take for granted, I suppose, because I did start my business in 2018. And because of the generation that I'm a part of, being part of digital technology is almost second nature. So to think of all the things that digitization has made more efficient over the years, apart from the more recent developments, it was really nice to reflect on that. So today I'm going to be talking more so about leveraging social media and AI in order to, oh, what's that? I think it's asked me to start my video. Can you see me? I'm sorry. Yeah, leveraging social media and AI to, one, market my business, share more of the story behind the business, but also AI to improve the back end operations in terms of just offloading some of the cognitive overload that comes with running a business on my own. So we can go to the next slide. All right, so what we're going to cover today is a little about myself and my business. And as I said, the role of social media in marketing, the role of AI or artificial intelligence in my business operations, and then a short introduction of my entire digital team, because in terms of human beings, I'm the only person that works in my business, but I do draw on a lot of digital resources to make that possible. Next slide, please. Right. So as I said, my name is Sheba Augustin, and I'm a mother and a creative entrepreneur living in Grenada, which is a tiny island in the Caribbean. And I started my business in 2018. And I've always focused on the business being as sustainable as possible. And so I use mainly local natural ingredients. I do source some of my ingredients from abroad, but I really try to focus on using the resources that are available in Grenada. We have rich, fertile soil, and so the things that we grow here are really top tier. Um, and recently I've started a new venture, which is called Nature Spa, which is an in-person experience using the products that I create. And I have collaborated with a very well-known local vegan chef and also a yoga teacher to create a wellness experience immersed in nature that people are able to experience my products that I make. They are able to understand maybe the best way to use them, and all in a beautiful natural setting. And it's just a really lovely time being out in nature. So I think I would have mentioned I started Omi in 2018, and only formulate with pure and natural ingredients. Very sustainable business. And then I also use my platform on social media to really advocate for self-care, as I've learned a lot over the years from being a student to becoming a mother, just how important it is for us to care for ourselves, just in order to sustain ourselves, to become the best versions of ourselves. Next slide, please. All right, so the role of social media for Omi. Essentially, I use social media to share the brand's personality. I've seen from 2018 until present how much more there is expected from brands on social media in order for people to really feel like they know who they're purchasing from, they know the brand's values, they know what the brand stands for, and it's really a lifestyle that they're buying into, especially with a brand like mine, which is all about skincare and self-care, which is such an personal and intimate part of people's lives. And especially as a small business that is not going to have a budget for television ads or billboards, social media is really how I get the word out about all the things that I'm doing. So apart from sharing the brand's personality, I also would share about the benefits of the products. Maybe some people don't know what some of the ingredients can do for your skin, so I share about that. I share the process of how things are made, from picking the plants sometimes in my own yard to drying them, to infusing to make face oils. I would share about new products that are launched, new offerings, share more about the brand values. If there's a sale or promotion, that also goes onto social media. I primarily use Instagram and Facebook and also WhatsApp. If I've restocked one of the stores where my products can be bought in person, that happens on social media. If I've restocked my online store, that is also shared on social media. I also use it to kind of build the credibility and success of the brand. And so I would share customer testimonials. What else do I talk about? I talk about insights into self-care practices. Some people are looking to find out, well, how do I use this product? Or how can I elevate my self-care practice so it's not just skincare, but it really restores me? And so I would share about that. I would share brand achievements, like, for instance, last year when UN Women invited me over to Antigua for the SIDS conference and the Women's Forum, the UN Women Forum. I shared about that, about traveling to Antigua and the experience that I had there, because I find that the people that follow my brand on social media really enjoy celebrating with me and seeing the progress of everything that's been happening. Love sharing behind the scenes. I think it's so important for people to see the labor behind products. So much products are made and, in factory settings and so on, which is very different from the business that I have. And people are often disconnected as to the labor that goes into creating these things. And in my case, everything is handmade. And so not only is it interesting, but it also shines light on what actually goes into creating the product that people do use. I also share brand-related lifestyle content. Omi's all about more so natural living, sustainability, caring for yourself. And so I share inspirational content around that. Next slide, please. And then most recently, more so this year, actually, I've really gotten into using artificial intelligence to help me to offload some of the cognitive overload. Like I said, I work alone. I'm the only human being that works in my business. And so from writing emails to social media captions to scheduling things out, to making to-do lists that, really that really work with the immense workload, I use AI for that. So I have used it as also as a sounding board for ideas if I'm trying to flesh out a concept, if I want to offer a new experience. I would talk to AI the same way that I would talk to maybe if I had a colleague and ask for feedback. Um, and maybe if there's just kind of the skeleton of an idea, AI can really help me to flesh out some of the details. I have had training around AI with a business coach, and that has really helped me to make my prompts I use ChatGPT primarily, to make my prompts more deliberate and strategic, going as far as to say, can you draft this email that I want to send potentially to this um, business that I want to partner with? And, I share some details about how maybe I know the business owner or the manager, and I would share the previous relationship that I've had with that business. And I would say, can you please write it in my tone, but then also use the learnings of Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, to frame that email. And then it would provide me with a draft that, I can then refine. Maybe it hasn't understood the prompt completely, or maybe I've forgotten something, but it at least gives me a first draft to work with. So instead of me sitting down to draft an email from scratch, it really expedites the process and helps me to be more efficient, because there's lots to do. There's products to make, there's social media videos to make, pictures to take, restocks to do, customer service, manning my online store. There's just so much that AI has really helped me to do more outreach and, craft messaging, conceptualize things without spending the amount of time that I would need, or that I would potentially have to employ somebody to help me with. Um, I have personally had reservations about using AI. Yes, I grew up in the digital age. Um, Social media came around when I was in my 20s, or actually a little earlier. Facebook was a bit earlier, like maybe in my late teens. Um, Google has been around, I think, since I've started secondary school, but still the way that AI can digest information without the need for me to read things sometimes is scary to me. And especially as a mother, I worry that AI might do too much thinking for us and our brains will not get the proper exercise that we need. And so I'm being very strategic and very mindful in my use of it. And of course, we also know about the environmental impacts of artificial intelligence. I've actually asked it about its environmental impact and asked it to share with me in a way that I can understand really how much maybe water it's using or electricity or resources it's using. And so I don't overuse it. I only use it when I need to. But it has helped me tremendously in the time that I've used it, especially with my, messaging and so on. And also my organization. And a fun story, last year it actually helped me to plan my daughter's birthday party by giving me a comprehensive to-do list and things to check off, things that I would not have even thought about, like maybe a first aid kit or a change of clothes. That's really how impressive and powerful it is. Next slide, please. And I also mentioned at the beginning that I have a whole digital team. So for communications, I use WhatsApp for Business, and that's how I primarily would communicate with my customers. I've actually recently started a mailing list as well. So I use a platform called Flowdesk to send out really beautiful emails so that I have a bit more space, because social media, of course, is very short form. And the way that I use Flowdesk is almost like a blog so that I can share more information. Like most recently, I shared about how microplastics can be found in our skincare and, the damaging effects of it. And so I use the newsletter for that. I use Zoho Invoice for my accounting, specifically to send invoices to my business customers. And it also allows me to send follow-up emails without having to go through the manual process of, pulling up the invoice and attaching it to an email and sending a letter. It's all automated there. I can tweak it a little bit if I don't like the tone of, what Zoho spits out initially. But it does really help to make the process a lot more efficient and automate it. And then for my online storefront, I didn't opt to get a .com because, again, that is more costly. I've chosen Kite, which is an app, and at the back end, it's an app, but it is a website that you can visit. It's not a .com, but it's a .catalog.kite.site or something of that nature. And that's where customers can go. They can order my products, then the order would come straight into the app. And from there, I can communicate with them. They would leave their phone number, and then we can discuss delivery or pickup. Prior to using Kite, I actually used WhatsApp Catalog. That allowed me to put prices in and for people to get things. But before that, even, I would just write out a price list. And then people would contact me via WhatsApp, tell me what they wanted, then ask me for the total, which was a lot more cumbersome. So I'm really grateful for Kite and creating that kind of intermediary between WhatsApp Catalog and official.com website. It's a lot more affordable and it provides you with everything that I need. In Grenada, we don't have access to processing credit cards. So payments are either made in cash when I make the deliveries or somebody comes to collect their products. Or in the last few years, our bank has actually activated a bank transfer or a bank payment system where you can save somebody's bank details in the app and then they can just send you the amount and it's instant, which we don't have Venmo or any of those other kind of apps that are available in the West or in the United States in particular. And so this is a really great way for us to accept payments digitally. Because these days a lot of people do not walk with cash and it's just so much easier to make payments online. Yeah, so this is the OMI's digital team for the most part. I also use Facebook, but primarily focus on Instagram. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the end of my presentation. You can scan the QR code if you like with your phone, and that will take you to my Instagram page. And I also have my contact information if you ever would like to ask me any questions about this presentation, or if you'd like to place an order for products. I ship over the world, unfortunately not right now to the United States because of an issue with the shipping and the taxes and so on. But hopefully that is resolved soon and I can resume shipping all over the world. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm looking forward to all the other presentations.
Thank you, Sheba, for that comprehensive presentation. There are a couple of things, you're speaking about AI and, seeing all the things it can do, but also being mindful of that. Okay, are we going too far? Where do we stop? So that was really interesting for me, as well as, when you spoke about your use of social media. Sometimes we think it is just for, we think let's use social media just to showcase our products, but I like how you use it as a platform to showcase your business as you. You're showcasing your products, you're celebrating your wins, you're sharing the behind the scenes, which then enables your customers to feel a connection to you. So thank you, Sheba, for that. Please put your questions in the question and answer section for your questions for Sheba. Okay, we'll now move on to Josephine. Our next presentation is by Josephine Okot. She is the founder and managing director of Victoria Seeds Limited out of Uganda. Since 2004, she has built her business into one of Uganda's leading seed companies, recognized internationally for its impact and innovation. Josephine, I turn it over to you. I recall in our session yesterday, you asked about the time, so I asked you to stay to 10 minutes, and I hope I don't have to jump in and say, okay. But thank you, Josephine, for being here. Over to you.
Yeah, greetings and good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm delighted to be with you. Congratulations to the UN Women and COLEAD for this great webinar. and I'm proud to be associated with the distinguished participants who are who have joined us today. So I am delighted to share the journey of Victoria Seeds Limited, how we have leveraged technology and digital transformation to become East African farmers' most trusted seed source. I don't see myself, I'm not so sure why I'm not Guy. I don't see my face though, but I'll continue presenting. So the next slide, it's I would like to introduce what we do, about what our business is. Actually, seed itself is a technology. So our business is to transfer the seed technologies that are developed from research. And we don't do it alone. We partner with CIMINT, we partner with the World Vegetable Center, and we get these technologies into the hands of mainly smallholder farmers. And our goal is to improve their crop yields and income. So this seed as a technology, we provide in it high germination, drought tolerance, early maturity, better yields, disease resistance, and characteristics for industrial use, so the farmer can access markets. So why do we say it's a great technology? Our first hybrid, Victoria 1, the yield is 7.5 metric tons per hectare of maize. So if a farmer used an OP variety, they would get only 1 metric ton. So this is like more than 5 times the yield. So it makes a great difference in transforming. But next slide, that's not all about us, our team. Next slide, please, is very passionate about empowering women. And our work has been acknowledged globally with a number of accolades. For one, developing the agri-input market in Uganda for our ethical business practice, and empowering rural women in our business model. So I'm just going to show one example of what this looks like. The next slide, as you see, these are many years ago, but at that time, the UN Women selected myself as the founder to be Uganda's torchbearer for Millennium Development Goal 3, which was on gender equality and empowerment of women. That's the Danish ambassador passing over the torch to me in Kampala way back in 2008. So next slide. Why did we get this recognition? It's really our work. We focus on developing the communities and empowering rural women, but mainly we do so by engaging them in our seed supply chain so they can have an attractive market. We impart skills in seed production and also support them with extension. We also provide input loan, not in the context of cash money, but rather in the context of seed. And we try to address the time poverty of rural women by providing post-harvest equipment, because as you know, most of the burden of threshing or post-harvest labor is provided by women and children in households. The next slide. So as Victoria Seeds, what are we doing? I just here, I would like to share very quickly some of the key building blocks that I believe is the reason for our success. One, I ventured into a business in a profession that I'm passionate about. So if we want to be entrepreneurs, only venture into what you love to do. As you see, passion is unmatched. You see beyond obstacles. You are able to persevere. You are able to stand up when you are knocked down. And always, as a woman leader, sometimes they brush us off. So always you must believe in yourself and have the courage to follow through your dreams. Have drive, develop your own self-confidence. And personally, for me, it was great to create a cadre of team players who shared my vision, and I trained them to bring solutions and not problems. And financing agriculture is a big challenge in Africa in general. So it's important to find a financial partner who is willing to support your growth and who understands your business. It makes a difference between success and failure. The next slide, please. So what are we doing to unlock opportunities to empower farmers through digitalization and artificial intelligence. As you can see, in the last, I think from the time where Victoria Seeds was founded, the primary method of reaching the farmers is by putting a crop demonstration. Then you organize a farmer field day crop demonstration. On the left, you see the extension officer of Victoria Seeds, Dickens. Then on the right, these two happy farmers. So that's how we were trying to promote our technologies. But I would like you to try and guess the years of these two farmers on the right. Next slide, please. So where do we want to be in this digital transformation? Since to the farmer, seeing is believing. That's why you have to put a crop demonstration. I would like to speak about the early warning systems for drought and diseases. Next slide, please, then I'll come back. And maybe quickly share the story. Next slide. Next, the story of when the fall armyworm first came to Uganda. Next slide. Oh, hi. I asked for, yes, that's the next slide. So I'll go back to the previous slide. Early warning system for food and income security. You see, the fall armyworm, we noticed it were in 2016. I know it's 10 years ago, but it's good to share this story. And we thought it was a kind of stem borer. I even spoke to the head of the nurse of NACRI, and he said, Josephine, we don't know what it is. We are still trying to investigate. Fortunately, I went for the Science Week at IITA in Ibadan, Nigeria. So when I presented my slide and I told them there's a stem borer, we are spraying and spraying, and it's not dying. We don't even know what it is. Then they say, no, goodness me, it's not a stem borer. This is a fall armyworm. It has just appeared in Africa. It's an invasive pest, and it has to be managed differently. So the story is like this. I organized a crop demonstration, as you saw in the previous slide, in Zombo. Zombo is in the border between the Democratic Republic of Uganda. It's close to the border with the Democratic Republic of Uganda. It's west of the River Nile. So our smart agronomist, Alima, she went, she organized the field, and she said, everything is set, MD. On a Friday, we are ready for the field day on Monday, and we went on a Monday to Zombo. And guess what we found? You saw the picture on the left. Every maize plant was eaten by the fall armyworm. My dear, for the first time, I really wanted the soil to swallow me. I went into a panic mode because when I looked across the road, all the homes save the local varieties were not touched by the fall armyworm. So I reasoned that the farmers will think myself and young Alima, we must be some kind of witches because we are telling them to adopt what is eaten up by worms. So anyway, to cut a long story short, as an entrepreneur, quickly come with a solution. I'd moved with a national media team from the New Vision and Monitor, and I changed the narrative that you see, this fall armyworm is coming from West Africa. It has landed here, and I want to alert you. That's why the media is here, because government has not yet informed you. So that's it. So I want to talk a little bit about it because the early warning system can determine between food and income security. When it's not there, it's not possible for the farmers to be food secure, and the same with the business. Because 3 years ago, I think we had the desert locust and we didn't have an early warning system. Then 2 years after, 1 year after that, we had the African armyworm and we didn't have an early warning system. So this early warning system cannot just be localized for one country. It has to be driven at continental level, and then it should be pegged onto what activities that private seed companies like ourselves do. Can we go back to the previous slide? So what are we doing in the context of digital transformation? It's great extension support in crop agronomy. As Victoria Seeds, I believe that we do not have our own app, but if you went to Kabi, you have a digital library, and they provide all the information that should help the farmer to be to know what crops they can grow, and we could go in partnership with such a continental global organization. The challenge, though, is we are dealing with smallholder farmers whose primary tool is still the hand hoe. And you saw the age, the average age of the farmer in Uganda, 52.9 for male and 53.5 for the female. So when Kabi says that these farmers should register and prompt their georeference to be prompted to provide georeference for their plots and verify the resulting polygons, and a displayed map thereafter would help them be guided on the kind of crop they should grow. I'm telling you, this short solution is a zero-sum game. The farmers that we engage with, they do not have the digital knowledge to be able to handle this kind of information from the smartphone. So in other words, we still need the agronomists to help them. And yet we want to move away as Victoria Seeds. We would love to see if there's a virtual agronomist. We need to use the app to do all the information as an agronomist. And organizations like ISDA Africa, they offer virtual agronomists. But most times you have to partner with them, or many times farmers are not even aware. So that could provide the extension. They could provide the soil testing. Then when you speak of crop insurance, I think Impact SF, it's part of the CGIAR. They work with banks. They help banks to de-risk by forecasting when drought will take place and so on. But you find that crop insurance, to translate that to crop insurance, a farmer should know that I don't need to insure because there is no drought. But as a seed company, or maybe not just Victoria Seeds as an industry, it's a challenge that we find that it's not easy to look for all these partners all over the place and to try to convert that into tangible information to the farmer. What works well now is market prices for outcrop, for farmers' outcrop, and also knowing who the potential buyers are. And as Victoria Seeds, we do digital marketing primarily through WhatsApp, and we try to provide online payment for farmers who want it. And these are not the traditional smallholder, but the commercial farmers, or sometimes we would say modern farmers who may be a lawyer, but he has his farm, or somebody who is doing a banker who has his farm. The last slide, I think. So as we conclude, that is what our products look like. And we believe that moving forward. Oh, there was a slide on funding before that, sorry. That's my last one, the one on funding. Oh, it disappeared. After this, there's a slide on, no, it's before the products of Victoria Seeds.
Hi, sorry, no, there's only this slide and then the product.
Okay, okay. There was a slide on where I stated that digitalization, the funding gap. So the challenge, as you can see, it's exciting that we digitalize, but there's a funding gap, because in that slide, I said it's always debt, debt, debt. And equity, soft debt is hard. Equity is forgiving, debt is insistent. Equity is a pillow, debt is a sword. So the challenge is for a private business like Victoria Seeds to train these farmers and make them digitally savvy. And the average age, not just in Uganda, but most of Africa, farmers are older. They are not really digitally savvy. It becomes a challenge. So it's difficult if we could get partnerships and work with them, but sometimes looking for these partnerships we don't even know where they are. So I commend the UN Women for putting us together. So anybody who wants to be a partner to work with Victoria Seeds, it's exciting, so that you become a pillar. And I do not use the sword that will slaughter me, whereas I'm using our profit, our bottom line, to try and grow the digital space. But it needs massive investment. In summary, we cannot just try to grow in that digital landscape without massive investment. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Josephine. And yes, we hear that passion. It was very interesting to see those opportunities which you identified where the digital transformation is needed. But that last point you made is also key, the funding gap on how do we fund this digital transformation. We all know it's necessary, and we also know that many of the entrepreneurs are not equipped financially. But how do we fund and provide all necessary resources to enable this digital transformation? Thank you so much, Josephine. We move now to our next presentation, which is back over into the Caribbean, the Grenada National Training Agency. So we're not looking at, it's not an entrepreneur, but a support agency that is supporting the entrepreneurs, all entrepreneurs, in this digital transformation. We will be hearing today from Dr. Kimoy Shireen Edwards, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Grenada National Training Agency. Dr. Edwards has extensive experience in education and quality assurance, and she has led initiatives in digital literacy, youth agriculture, and enterprise training. Over to you, Dr. Edwards, and thank you again.
Thank you very much, Gail Gallup. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I'm very pleased to be discussing with you today about the Grenada National Training Agency, as well as the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project, also known as CARDIP. So before I go into discussing the Digital Transformation Project, I will just speak briefly about the NTA. So the Grenada National Training Agency was established in 2009 through an act of the Grenada Council for Technical and Vocational Education and Training. And the whole emphasis was to be able to provide, to oversee the development and delivery of technical and vocational education and training in Grenada. One of the critical roles of the NTA is to focus specifically on the awarding of national vocational qualifications, also known as NVQs, and Caribbean vocational qualifications, CVQs, and this to the thrust of ensuring that there is the facilitation of free movement of workers throughout the Caribbean. In addition, the NTA is part of the CANTA grouping, or CANTA, also known as the Caribbean Association of National Training Authorities. And the role of CANTA predominantly is to ensure that there is a standardized model for training, assessment, and certification in the TVET space. In terms of what the NTA does, going back to that emphasis on TVET, we focus on standards development. So we collaborate with industry, with sector advisory bodies for the development of standards. We also offer work-based training or enterprise-based training by collaborating with institutions as well as with governments to ensure that there is a level of workforce certification. We also focus on quality assurance. So as the body that is responsible for overseeing, the body that has the mandate for overseeing the development and delivery of TVET, through our quality assurance unit, we offer CBET, competency-based education and training, to ensure that the training providers that are using the standards to deliver training are doing so according to the CBET model. We also focus on center approvals, assessment and verification of training. And through the training support department, there is the emphasis on career guidance and gender sensitive training. Through our monitoring and evaluations department, we ensure we do research to monitor and evaluate the outcomes and the impact of the training that we offer. And of course, through monitoring and communications, through marketing and communication, we focus specifically on the marketing aspect of what we do and the communications aspect. We offer, so we have over 200 standards, and they range from agriculture right through to technology. So where did the CARDIP project come about? What is the importance of the CARDIP project? So the government of Grenada embarked on a digitization process across the public sector. And the whole idea was to be able to strengthen the service delivery, to create jobs and to spur economic growth. Next slide, please. However, what was noted is that it was important, or is still important, to promote or to enhance the digital literacy of Grenadians, of citizens, so that they can adapt to the modern climate, to the modernization and digitization efforts of the government. So the conceptualization of the CARDIP project was really to support the creation of that digitally enabling environment through the implementation of skills development training programs for Grenada. The CARDIP project really is a $94 million initiative throughout the Eastern Caribbean, specifically the OECS. So it's Grenada, Dominica, St. Vincent, St. Lucia. And the objectives focus on increasing the access to digital services for businesses, for governments, and for individuals. Focusing as well on the digital skills development of those individuals and businesses with whom they interact. And there's also that emphasis on public sector modernization, as I mentioned, and ensuring that there is digital government infrastructure. So the emphasis really for the project, it was not so much a focus on women, but a focus on the citizens to improve the digital literacy of citizens of Grenada. What was noted is that there was a rising youth unemployment within Grenada, and the most recent labor market report indeed shows that youth unemployment continues to be a critical area of concern for the government. So to ensure that there is an emphasis, or there is a drive to create opportunities that are aligned with 21st century labor market needs, the CARDIP project came about. Yes, the CARDIP project came about. In terms of the target audience, job seekers who were looking to improve their basic computer skills, adults with limited computer experience, as well as generally members of the community. Next slide, please. So in its conceptualization phase, the project did not necessarily focus on women. So it was a regional initiative really focusing on accelerating transformation in education, in skills, and in workforce readiness. So how does the Grenada National Training Agency, or GNTA, come in there? It's because the GNTA, as the apex body driving TVET training, was approached by the government of Grenada through the Ministry of ICT to oversee that particular program, right? So given the role we play in aligning the training programs with the needs of the labor market, with the skills needs of industry and government, we had to play a crucial role in the development of the standards and the training modules that are used, for the delivery of that particular program. Next slide, please. Right? Now, in terms of what the emphasis of the program is, so through CARDIP, there is training and certification through what is known as basic digital literacy. The idea is to start at the most basic level to ensure that citizens are equipped with the skills that are needed to succeed in a digitally transformed environment. So there is the emphasis on equipping citizens to integrate technology and digital skills in their daily life. And in a while, I will talk specifically about the modules or the component of the training to give an idea of what it entails. Next slide, please. Right. So The Ministry of ICT and the NTA signed a memorandum of understanding in 2023 to promote the digital transformation or that digitization project through basic digital literacy. So the training commenced in November 2024, and the idea was to have about 400 trainees as part of that program. So initially, when the advertisements were done, there were about 200 trainees, who registered. And further marketing had to be done to bring it up to that level of 400. 5 main training providers submitted EOIs to deliver that program, and they're visible on the screen. So the TM Marischal Community College, Grace Training and Certification Center, New Life Organization, Tech World, Center for Certification and Development Training. When the program commenced in 2024, towards the last quarter, so that's around November, there were 3 cohorts. And by the first quarter of 2025, there were 7 cohorts commencing in that particular quarter. Next slide. Right. So in terms of the content of the modules or the content of the training program, because the emphasis of the course is basic digital literacy, to look at the foundational levels of digital literacy so that participants are initiated into the whole idea of what information and data literacy means. So it starts with topics such as operating a personal computer, using digital devices, and using mobile IT devices, right? So the module 1, for example, looks at operating the computer and its computer basics. How do you put the computer on? How do you print? And so forth. When it gets to module 2, looking at communication and collaboration, how can one access and use the internet? How can one use basic language and communication skills? How to do a simple computer search? What about observing ethical practices while using the computer and internet? Participating in online networks and social media, using digital literacy skills to access the internet and interacting with clients. But there's also the emphasis on digital content creation, such as operating particular software packages, using mobile IT devices, and so forth. So as I just described, the modules were really at the basic level to initiate the trainees into the fundamentals of using a computer and developing the digital literacy skills. Next slide, please. Right. So initially, in looking at the enrollment of the IT fundamentals, what was noted is that the female registration outnumbered the number of males in the program. So initially, I alluded to the youth unemployment rate in Grenada, but there's also the challenge of for example, the ILO 2025 report revealed that unemployment still continues to be a challenge in Grenada. And for males, whereas the statistics show 30.8%, for females, it is about 40.96. So the female unemployment is higher by almost 10% higher for the women. But it's a telling statistic, particularly because women, when we look at our reports over the years, women tend to access training more than men. Yet the unemployment rate is higher for women. And we are seeing with the statistics here that we have a lot more females enrolled in the program. It's a lot more. So you have the initial statistics. We have 19 males versus 112 females. Yet, and not just for IT, generally, female unemployment tends to be higher, even if women are accessing training more than men. So it means there is a problem. Next slide, please. Right. Now, the program started in November 2024, and we have, like I said a while ago, 7 cohorts started at the beginning of the year. So initial or immediate from analyzing the reports from the training providers, what we are seeing is the increased confidence in using computers and the internet. So this is what the trainees are saying. There is that increased confidence. And given the statistics I just shared, that's among the women generally. So you have increased confidence. They're better able to handle common issues like troubleshooting, finding files, and sending emails, as well as demonstrating a good understanding of online privacy, data protection, and basic security features. Next slide. Right. So what we have to do now is to, apart from completing assessments, certifications, etc., is to do the long-term follow-up, right? So through the Office of Monitoring and Evaluations, look at the impact. Because it's one thing to talk about how many women are registered in the program and what they're reporting, or how many women and men, sorry, are registered in the program and what they're reporting about their experience. But what we want to look at now, in particular, would be the impact. How does it change the employment situation of women? Are more, apart from them being more comfortable using the computers, are they using it to leverage their businesses? Are they using it to create employment? So this is the follow-up that we have to do at the organization. Nevertheless, we have been reflecting on some of the future plans and long term, so that expanded access to other communities, because the registration data shows that it's predominantly St. John and the parishes, sorry, of St. John and St. George. This is where most of the trainees are coming from. So it means we have to expand to the communities, to the parishes that are underrepresented, to ensure that the digital transformation project has that reach in Grenada. We also want to look at the pathway to advanced certification, because with the basic digital literacy, they're starting off at that foundational level, but it will be important to go at a higher level. The trainees have expressed the interest in completing the NVQ, right? Because what they're doing now is just aspects of a full NVQ. So they have expressed that interest to do the complete program so that they can have a NVQ certification. It's important for us to reflect on the particular training pathways. So looking at that seamless transition from the BDLP, from the Basic Digital Literacy Program, to the NVQ program. So just to wrap up my presentation, as I pointed out, whereas the digital transformation project did not start off as a project for women, the statistics are showing that the women are predominantly enrolled in the digital transformation project. So as an organization, as we go forward, we have to look specifically at how we can create those pathways to advanced certification for trainees, but also to measure the impact of the BDLP training on the participants. How did it improve their lives and their livelihoods? I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Edwards. And I think you've really demonstrated how important it is to have these support organizations for our entrepreneurs. And, you know, when I look at this and I look at the opportunities in the previous presentation from Josephine, you know, and I do hope that organizations similar to Grenada National Training Agency are found in other jurisdictions in order to support the women entrepreneurs. So thank you for sharing today what you're doing in Grenada. Okay, so we now turn to our final presentation, and then we will get to all of your questions. However, we first have to hear from Nasha Daner. Nasha is the co-founder of the Bono Salas Enterprises in Zimbabwe, which focuses on urban farming and plant-based diets. She combines her background in economics and logistics with hands-on farming and entrepreneurial development. Over to you, Nasha. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here today and to get connected to the rest of the world through UN Women and COLEAD. So, welcome to Bono Salas Microgreens Farm. We are a farm that specializes in producing microgreens and fresh herbs. Why? Because we have a mission to enhance people's health and well-being through food. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so how did it start? In 2016, one of my brothers became visually impaired. So one day I was researching about vision impairment. Then I came across an article which was talking about human organs failing due to poor nutrition. And that article, it was on Google. It was advocating for the consumption of microgreens and also smoothies. But during that time, I didn't know what microgreens were, but that article interested me and it inspired me to research more about microgreens growing and how they enhance people's health and well-being. So I started researching more about microgreens on Google, and I had to use YouTube to do virtual agritourism. So when I was touring these farms on YouTube, this is when I learned that microgreens business was a great business that could help me financially and also enhancing people's health and well-being. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. So when we were touring these virtual farms, we got to understand that we had an opportunity to grow sprouts, microgreens, herbs, and also naturally occurring edible weeds. And during these tours on virtual farms, this is when I learned about urban farming and indoor farming. I'd never heard about indoor farming, but I learned this through Google and YouTube. So because of the touring that I had done on the internet, it helped me to start doing research and development so that I could also start this business and also help Zimbabweans to enhance their health through food. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so we now supply these microgreens, herbs, and edible weeds to our customers who are restaurants, supermarkets, and household. But how do these clients find us? We created a website where we do blogging about microgreens growing and how they can be of help to the people who consume them. Just because here in Zimbabwe, it is a new business that many people, they don't even know what they are. So we realized that it is good to create content that is related to the business that we are doing. That's why we create content about microgreens growing and how they can be incorporated in the Zimbabwean food. So we do blogging where we create content on our website. And also we have a Facebook page that we use to again create content where people or our followers who are on Facebook can also see content that is related to microgreens growing and consumption. We also post videos on TikTok that can allow Zimbabweans and other people around the globe to see how microgreens are grown and how they can be consumed. So using these three platforms, it has been helpful for us to grow our business just because it was difficult for us to market these products in a physical way. But when we went virtual, we started realizing that many clients were getting in touch of us so that they could buy our products. So on what we do is on Facebook, we create content and we boost that content. We promote that content through using MasterCards so that many people can view our content. And this viewership has allowed us to have more and more clients. We also do this on TikTok. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, So someone might be asking me, like here, those people who are in Southern Africa, they understand that it is very difficult to go on the internet. Why? Because of the digital divide that prevails in Southern Africa. So how do we bridge the gap where it's difficult for us to be on the internet? So what we did is, the first thing is to invest in infrastructure. So we made sure that we have the infrastructure that allows us to go online. And also, when we are buying data, we look for those service providers that buy cheap data, that sell cheap data, and this has been helpful for us. And also, the most good thing about Zimbabwe is the service providers, they have data packages which are different for a specific reason. Let's say you want to go on WhatsApp, there's data for WhatsApp. If you want to go on TikTok, there's TikTok data. When you want to go for Facebook, there's also Facebook data. So if we don't have enough resources, we can only buy data for a specific social media platform. So this has helped us to make sure that each and every day we are present online. Then what I also do is I have my own Facebook page where I create content which is related to leadership, to communication. So on this platform, I post content that is valuable to many entrepreneurs who are in Africa. So this has allowed these people to follow me, and I redirect these followers to our company website and also to our company Facebook page. So so to bridge the digital divide, what we do is we are always hungry and we have quest for new information. So each and every day, we are always online on Google, on YouTube, trying to learn something new that we can use in our farm, that we can use in the future. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So how we have been using technology in the following way. Currently, we do indoor farming where we grow our vegetables indoors and also in a greenhouse. So we have learned growing vegetables indoors through technology and through digital platforms. So we do hydroponics farming that we have learned on social media platforms, and we've also learned through Google. And in our business, technology has helped us through networking and collaborating with other people around Zimbabwe and across the globe. We also source raw materials from other countries because some of the materials that are needed to grow microgreens cannot be found in Zimbabwe. So what we do is we go online and buy resources like microgreens kits. We bought them online. Then we also use artificial intelligence, especially on content creation, like we use ChatGPT. We also use Canva to do our designing. And I love reading a lot, so I go on Quora where I read a lot about leadership, about communication, because if you are an entrepreneur, you also need to learn about leadership so that you can be able to communicate and interact with other people from different social backgrounds. Technology has also helped us to do research and development, especially in our farm. You know, when we learned about microgreens growing, we learned it through YouTube and Google, but it was as in a setting where it's for developed countries. But we also have our own environment here where we need to focus on the Zimbabwean context. So whatever that we learned on Google, we came home and then we started researching and developing so that we could find best ways that we could use technology in our own farm using locally available resources. So currently we have developed our own grow media, but it came from using Google and YouTube. Then we developed this system so that it can suit our own context. Then in our business, we use internet banking and mobile banking. This has helped us to reduce the cost of standing in queues in the banks. So social media marketing has been so helpful for us because most of the corporate clients that we have, we found them through social media. And our website has allowed us to gather emails from people. Then we market our products through their emails. And also, after we do an advert on social media, we can now use platforms like Google Analytics to analyze the effectiveness of our adverts. Even on TikTok, we also analyze the effectiveness of the advert that we would have done even on Facebook. So this allows us now to understand what should be done after we have done an advert. Was it effective or not? And this allows us to develop a new method of advertising and marketing that can give us results, or that can enable customers to respond to our call to action. And we also use technology for data storage. So the data that everything that we do, we store it in the cloud, and it has helped us to access our data at any period of time as long as we are connected to the internet. And technology has also helped us at our farm in terms of mentorship. I have received a lot of mentorship from different people across the globe, from South Africa, from Kenya, from USA. These were online mentorship, and it helped me in terms of leadership, and in terms of how I communicate, and in terms of how I can develop my urban farm. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. So these are some of the benefits of adopting to technology that we have witnessed in our farm. At first, we were using passive hydroponics farming, but because of learning from the internet and learning from what other virtual farms are doing, we now have an active hydroponic system that we have put in place, and it is very effective and efficient. It has increased our productivity, and we can now grow more even on a confined space. And also, leveraging technology has allowed us to be cost effective. We have reduced the cost of production because we used to have more workers, but because of the use of technology, the workers that we use have been reduced so much. And when we do our marketing, we reach a wider audience, and this has helped us to be known in many provinces of Zimbabwe. And technology has also allowed us to easily access markets and opportunity. You know, when you go on the internet, you can learn of new opportunities, business opportunities that are in Zimbabwe. But if you don't have, or if you're not using technology, you might not be even aware of opportunities that are even in your own town. But because of using Facebook, because of using the internet, because of using WhatsApp, we get connected to so many entrepreneurs who also connect us to new opportunities. Like, the reason why I'm talking to you, it is because of the internet. It connected me to UN Women and COLEAD. And technology allows us to have increased knowledge about how to do urban farming or how to do indoor farming. And also, it speeds our financial transaction. So at whatever time of the day, we are able to do financial transaction because we do internet banking. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So we are optimistic that in the future, we will be one of the largest automated vertical indoor farm that will sell fresh vegetable which are organically produced around globe. And we also look forward to create an online marketplace that will connect all farmers who are across the globe so that they can market their products effectively on a virtual platform. And also, very soon, we are contemplating of selling digital products, and we are currently writing an ebook on microgreens growing, and very soon it will be online. Thank you so much. This is Buenos Aires. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nasha, for your very
Okay.
comprehensive. I see a lot, all I would say is that you're busy. There are lots of things happening and very exciting to see and lots of ideas. And I really, really enjoyed that presentation. Thank you. Okay, thank you everyone for staying on.
you.
We will now pivot a little. We will go to a 15-minute, straight into the 15-minute question and answer session led by my colleague Alonso. We did have another question for the panelists, but I think they have comprehensively covered everything. So now we go to Alonso, who will take us through the question and answer session with the questions in the chat. And if you have a question, you can also raise your hand. Over to you, Alonso.
Thank you, Gail. Thanks to everyone. I don't know if you can see me on the camera. Maybe can take a few seconds. So during this brilliant session, we have been receiving a lot of questions from the audience. All of them are pretty interesting. As far as we are running a little bit short of time, we will make this part as quick as possible, and I will be asking randomly to our entrepreneurs who have been presenting this session so well some of the questions that the audience want to know about their work and about digitalization and technology. So this first question is to Gladys Yao from Aber Besi Aboganina. She's telling us, congratulations, Madam Yao, for your commitment to the digitalization. We are also very glad of your job. And we would like to know how do you plan to digitalize the supply chain of your company's operations? That means from farm to fork, in order to improve production consistency, traceability, and the quality of the products placed on the market. How are you planning to do this, Mrs. Madame Yao? Thank you so much.
Ok, merci beaucoup. C'est bon? Vous m'entendez? Merci beaucoup pour la question. Actuellement, nous sommes en train de faire une formation sur la supply chain. Voilà, qui va consister à numériser, je peux dire le process. C'est-à-dire que dès déjà la réception, quand on fait le conditionnement, il y aura un logiciel qui va déjà nous donner déjà le nombre de produits finaux. C'est-à-dire que quand on enclenche la production, automatiquement, on peut voir le produit final. Actuellement, c'est la formation que nous sommes en train de suivre sur la supply chain qui va nous permettre de contrôler tous les entrées, tous les sorties des produits. Je crois que j'ai répondu à la question. Bon, la chaîne d'approvisionnement.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Yao. That's an inspiring response. I would like to go ahead now, and I would like to do the next question to Shiva Augustine that has received a lot of good questions. But let me please just ask you if you can share where you receive your AI training. There are too many questions related to AI training, so please can you share where you receive your AI training or who coached you on these tools? Also,
Uh,
how did you determine which AI tool was most suitable for your business? I find this question interesting. If you can please respond, Siva. Thank you so much.
okay, okay, no problem. I'm happy to answer that question. Initially, I think it was so before I started my business, I actually worked in online marketing at a resort. I was creating blogs, digital content for social media, and so on. Um, and so I've always kind of been in social media and around the emerging technology. Um, and it was actually one of my managers from that job after I finished working there years later, actually bumped into each other. And he started to show me the possibilities of AI. And so that's when I started to get into like just a little bit, but not really with, I'm sorry, the truck just passed in the road. um, that's when I kind of started playing around with it and exploring it. And it was this year when I started working with my business coach, who's Nicole Watson. She showed me one, how to use ChatGPT more effectively, and then two other platforms. One of them is called Claude, and the other one is called Loom. And I did a really interesting process with AI to get more clarity, because this year I went through a transition where I thought I would go more for from business to consumer to business. And in doing that, I realized that that was definitely not what I wanted to do. So then I had to transition back to business to consumer. So she asked me to do this clarity exercise to see, well, what is it that you want to offer? What are your values? What are your boundaries and all of that? And so she sent me a list of talking points, and I had to sit for, I think, 5 minutes with each question and record it on this app called Loom, which is AI. And then it's a video recording that also gives you a transcript. And then I took that transcript and put it into ChatGPT and prompted those questions like, what do you think my stumbling blocks are? What are my values? And so on and so forth. Because, in this kind of very organic process of just freely speaking, I was able to kind of clarify, and it would notice trends of things that I would repeatedly speak about. And when I looked at what AI told me about myself, I was like, wow, okay, this is really powerful, and it helped me to go with actually more enthusiasm, more clarity, more excitement into like this new trajectory of really honing in on business to consumer. So that's how I learned more about AI. And then with Claude, sorry, I didn't even talk about that one. Claude helps to refine like letters and writing. And so I think it has a bit more of a human touch, but I've actually transitioned out of using Claude because I've worked with ChatGPT so much now. It really understands my voice. And so sometimes the emails that I write need very minimal refining, because it kind of went from being robotic and not really understanding me to speaking to me as if it were my friend. So it's been very interesting, to say the least, working with artificial intelligence.
Thank you so much, Shiva, for the response and how important is mentorship. Sometimes how important is connecting with people. That's what we are trying to do today. We have a few minutes left. I would like to finish by asking to Kimoy, Dr. Kimoy Edwards, if possible. They were asking you if you could share here the profile of the beneficiaries in your training program. Maybe that's too much for now, but it's a question that everyone working in corporation or working in the private sector ask along their lives sometimes. How did you manage to reduce dropout rates throughout the certification process? And they are putting in place their experience. And, they were telling, we recently implemented a youth agro-pastoral entrepreneurship program in Cameroon, in this case, from far from the Caribbean, but connected somehow, which included a capacity building phase. During that period, several young participants, especially young participants and women dropped out due to social constraints. and they are interested in learning from your experience, in this case, Kimoy, about this, how to stop this dropout on this period. If you can please respond to the question, because sometimes this is also linked to technology and to lack of digitalization and access to internet, for example. If you can
Right.
please respond. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so thank you very much for that question. So in terms of what the NTA is doing or has done in collaboration with the organizations, the training providers, to look at the attrition rates for the participants. Even before the training begins, we focus specifically on the capacity building phase, so that competency-based education and training. So for the training centers, the instructors who were scheduled or chosen to deliver the program had to undergo a specific training in CBET to ensure that they could deliver the program. And what that training does is ensure that the program is tailored specifically to the participants. Because sometimes we may have instructors who are content experts, but not necessarily skilled with the pedagogy to ensure that they can deliver the training. So that's one of the things we have done for the BDLP program, and we also do for the programs, that quality assurance focus. Additionally, the institutions, the training providers selected to deliver the program, ensuring that they have the infrastructure, the IT infrastructure, because it's the BDLP, a literacy program. An institution cannot be chosen to deliver the program without having the equipment in place, because one of the challenges for the program can very well be connectivity, so that when participants are at home, they're not able to access the program, etc. So the access to labs, the IT labs, we saw as fundamental, the access to platforms, fundamental to ensuring that they can complete the program. In terms of the program delivery within the training centers, we found it was also important to ensure that there was easy access to learning material, so that when the program was developed, it was tailored in such a way that is user-friendly and placed on a specific learning platform. So because it's basic digital literacy, it is not going to be the traditional paper-based approaches. It's on a particular learning platform that they're able to access and go through the material in a user-friendly manner, as well as the assurances, because in looking at the first set of reports, challenges were noted that there was attrition. So the first set of reports showed that, for example, for a particular institution, they started off with 20 and each cohort had to be 20. But after a while, it went down to 17. So there was attrition. And the institution now, given the assurance that they will do their best to ensure that they provide as much technical support as possible and emotional engagement with learners. In terms of the profile of the learners, they predominantly, like I said, we have more females registered, but also in terms of the higher education, it's like some of them are, the highest level is secondary and the highest level is tertiary. So for quite a few, there may have been some sort of digital exposure at some point. So this is what we have done. We still have to continue looking at the statistics to monitor further attrition rates. But generally, this is what we have done to ensure or to minimize the attrition. But of course, there were one or two dropouts from the program, but this is what we have put in place to deal with the attrition.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shiva, for the response. We are approaching to the end of the session. So I know many of the questions have not been responded here in this space. That doesn't mean that we will not take care of them, and we will share them in our networks, so you will can access in the next weeks. I would like to give the floor now to Nina De Sanlis. She's project manager from COLEAD, and she will be in charge of doing the next steps for next sessions. Thank you so much, Nina. Over to you.
Thank you, Alonso. I hope you can all hear me. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm gonna just summarize a bit the key points and the path forward. So as Alonso said, I am Nina de Solis-Perrin, Project Officer in the Networks and Alliances Department at COLEAD. So as we come to the end of this enriching session, I want to thank our panelists, moderators, and participants for sharing your experiences, insight, and energy. Today, we have heard remarkable stories from women entrepreneurs across Africa and the Caribbean, and we have seen how technology can be a bridge to opportunity, resilience, and growth. So we began by acknowledging the reality. The technological divide is still real. A big share of the population remains unconnected, and across the global South countries, women face barriers such as high cost of connectivity, gaps in digital skills, limited access to innovation and mechanization, and limited access to finance. But what we have also heard is that these challenges can be overcome. Our panelists today have shown us what's possible and how technology can support and accelerate entrepreneurial growth. Whether it's using mobile tools to reach new markets, experimenting with AI, introducing innovations, or building support networks, each story reminds us that when women entrepreneurs are equipped with the right skills, tools, and confidence, they become catalysts for economic growth and community transformation. So where do we go from there? First, connectivity must be treated as essential infrastructure, as vital as roads or electricity. Governments, the private sector, and partners must invest in affordable, reliable internet so every woman entrepreneurs from Grenada to Côte d'Ivoire can access it. Second, innovation in agribusiness must be leveraged. Digital tools can help women in agriculture increase yields, access new markets, and reduce risk. Supporting innovation and knowledge sharing in agribusiness ensures that women-led farms and enterprises can thrive in a modern, competitive economy. Third, skills can be a great equalizer. The future of work is digital and fast-changing, requiring women entrepreneurs to continuously learn new innovations and apply them to their business. Closing the gender gap in tech and business skills is urgent. This South-South series is a step forward, of course, but we must keep on expanding training, mentorship, and peer learning opportunities. At the same time, we must ensure that access to technology, connectivity, and digital literacy does not become a new source of inequality, but rather a bridge that empowers women to compete and lead. Finally, finance must be inclusive and flexible. Women need capital and advisory support to invest in technology and grow. We will explore this more in our next session on the 22nd of October. Some more details will follow. So an important takeaway is that women entrepreneurs are not waiting to be included. They are already creating the future. Our role as COLEAD, as UN Women, as governments, and as individuals is to ensure they have the access, security, and resources needed to succeed. I take this opportunity to also promote our online entrepreneurs platform, AgriNovators. You will find all the information about this session, but also about different topics, including women empowerment. I invite you to join our forum to explore sustainable innovations that transform food system. You can share ideas and share insights. We will also post the highlights of this session and further resources and training opportunities on the platform. So as Alonso and Gail said before, please keep contact with each other, keep this online series as dynamic as possible. Thank you all for joining us today, for what has been a very interesting and successful session. A special thanks to UN Women, with whom we are glad to collaboratively organize this South-South series. And of course, a special thanks to, again, our participants, our panelists, but also our interpreters for their work today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. And again, thank you everyone for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you in our next session. Thank you. And thank you to our panelists, everyone. Nina covered it all, but we look forward to seeing you again and keep in contact. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day, night, everything else. Bye-bye.